both the Bible, both the Quran say in several places that this resurrection is a new setting in order of the affairs of heaven and earth, that they will start functioning differently than they have functioned before. Both the Old Testament and the New Testament talk about it. The Quran talks about new heavens and a new earth. In fact, the only place the Quran quotes the Bible is this place to say the righteous are going to inherit the earth. You see, right now we don't have a government that sees to it that the wicked are punished and that the good are rewarded. Someday we will. And it isn't going to be a difficult case to prove to some individuals, well, you have a long record of bad things, so you deserve this kind of a punishment. It won't be necessary. What they did that was wrong will have had its effects down to that time that are going to be waiting for them. They'll be surrounded by the things that they did that were wrong. Nobody has to tell them anything. Another ayah says that when a man sees his own record, no one has to tell him what was the bottom line. He'll know it by reading it, by being aware of what he did. This is something like the grave is said to be like a sleep. Now, the man in the grave, is he sleeping peacefully or is he sleeping fitfully? Well, it depends on what kind of a life he led. I would compare it to a man who is sentenced to be executed in the morning. How do you suppose he sleeps the night before, you see? Compared to a man who tomorrow morning he starts his vacation. See, how does he sleep the night before? That is the so-called torment of the grave, that one's intellect knows what is waiting for one, and that is the kind of rest, whether it is peaceful or not, that one enjoys in the grave. Okay?
Extending your exception of our assumption of natural law, our application of that, our manifestation of that, goes back to the again in Greek reasoning. If that is the case, then the emphasis should be more on the natural understanding of natural law, pursuit of natural laws, and that it will itself will create the fulfillment, which you just started saying. That.
Sure, and that's what the Muslim community is supposed to do. They're supposed to be a community that stands as the best among mankind because they care the most about making sure that there's no place in this society for the wrongdoer and so on. What I thought you were going to say, that I was talking about resurrection, you thought I was getting off natural law and that, but while that sounds like an amazing sort of a thing, it's amazing, but it's not an unnatural thing. I was reading, I'm talking about physical law, but what I mean is just reading, not for the first time either, the other day about in the Soviet Union where they had discovered the remains of a mastodon elephant that had been dead for thousands of years, and some of the cells were in good enough shape that they're hoping to reconstruct those cells, clone them, and grow a mastodon elephant out of them, you see. So the mastodon, an elephant, an animal that has been extinct for thousands of years, they're going to bring one to life, all according to natural law, because they say there's enough information left in that chemical material in the body of this long dead elephant to get the process rolling again and so on. So it doesn't seem very remarkable at all to think that the human being, whose every cell in his body contains all the information necessary to reconstruct the whole being, is going to someday find himself alive again. I don't find that hard to imagine at all. That's not a miraculous event. That's no more miraculous than the fact that I can tell you that the sun will be up at exactly 6:57 tomorrow morning. It's quite acceptable. Goes against which now? Who has a fatalistic attitude? That has been one school of thought in Islam. Fatalistic attitude has been a school of thought in Christianity. It isn't very highly thought of today. This idea that from the beginning men are predestined, some of them for heaven, some of them for hell. That's John Calvin had that idea 400 or 500 years ago. A certain school of thought in Islam held something similar to that 1,000 years ago. But fatalistic, I guess maybe what a lot of people there will speak of Islam, they say it's fatalistic because the Muslim will always say whether the good or bad things happen to him, they say it's God's will. They say that's fatalistic and that's been the cause of his downfall and so on. They never stop to think, well, then what was the cause of his rising up? You see, if he had this hopeless idea that, well, if the army's defeated, well, that's just too bad, you know. How come the armies were victorious for so long? They don't follow through on this attitude. The Muslim is not fatalistic. The Muslim accepts what he can't change, that's all.
Are you a Muslim?
I should hope so.
Yeah. Where were you introduced to Islam? How?
Not by anybody.
What were the circumstances, the environment? That's what I'm asking.
No environment. I just picked up a book. I was interested to know about Islam, and so I read about it. I was a Muslim before I met any Muslims.
Where from?
Where did I live?
What I mean is, have you lived in a Muslim country?
In a Muslim? No, I have not lived in a Muslim country, no.
Might I say that had you grown up on the streets of Cairo or Istanbul, your outlook might be different. I can pick up the Quran, I can pick up the Bible, Torah, or anything. Take a lot of it and make a science, make a philosophy, anything I want. But to live it is differently. And to experience life under these conditions, under the conditions of various societies, is a different thing from understanding those people through a book.
If you think that I'm saying that I wanted to be a Muslim because I wanted to be a Turk or something, you're making a mistake.
I also mentioned Cairo.
Or whatever. I think you're confusing a nationality with what is the religion. As a matter of fact, I might well travel to Istanbul, I suppose, and wander through the city for days and never meet a man that I agree with. But I would consider myself a Muslim. Being a Muslim doesn't mean I'm going to start eating curry and or some of the native dishes of
well, no,
India.
I should have asked, were you converted to Islam or were you born Islam? In Islam?
No,
you became a Muslim or you were born a Muslim?
You see, you ask a trick question. Everyone is born a Muslim, as the Muslim believes.
Okay,
but
let me ask you.
In the sense that, no, my upbringing was Christian, and several years ago, being interested in a number of things, I read about Islam, and in fact, what I found in the Quran, I thought, what this book teaches me is what I believe. For all I know, no Muslim believes the same thing as I do, but I like what this book says. And then I went to meet some Muslims, you see.
Possible.
Yes, so what does that mean to me?
What I mean is that had you grown up a Muslim, you might have a different view on Christianity and Islam.
Yes.
You learned it through a book. You didn't learn it from your parents on the street.
Yes, so...
Okay.
The truth is the truth. If the truth is spoken to me by Ronald McDonald down at McDonald's with his silly red nose on, if it's the truth, it's the truth. I don't care where it comes from.
Yes, but who would you rather have the truth come from, Ronald McDonald or somebody else?
Doesn't matter in the slightest if it's the truth.
Yes, it does.
I would remind you that you can consult, for example, if you look in the Bible, you'll find that almost the only people who ever say to Jesus, "You're the Son of God," are devils and demon-possessed people. Now, that doesn't seem to bother the Christians any.
No, because they serve the purpose of God.
Okay, so Ronald McDonald may serve the purpose of God if he brings me the truth. It doesn't matter. Truth is truth. It doesn't matter what is the source of it. So you're talking about an argument ad hominem against the man. This is like people who say, I don't believe in general relativity because Einstein was a Jew, and you know what they're like, you see. If you want to attack relativity, you attack relativity on the basis of the mathematics of it, not on the basis of the man. This is people do the same thing, that they write books and books on Islam, and what do? They say, you know what's wrong with Islam? Muhammad had 10 wives. See, what does that have to do with Islam, you see? If he spoke the truth, what difference does it make? Truth is truth, and it shines with error all around it, and the source means nothing.
Well, you've studied it, okay? You've read it. Very few people have, okay? And there's really not much point to the whole exercise. Most people here being Muslim.
Why is it? You're saying they don't know Islam very well, or?
I'm just saying there's not much point in the exercise. How many Christians do you see here? How many people do you see here wanting to learn?
I didn't, I didn't hold this meeting to try to convert somebody to Islam. That was not the point of it. This is for information, and as a matter of fact, I usually feel that I am conveying more information to the Muslims than the Christians, because they usually come, not always, but they usually come with quite antagonistic attitudes, so that I find that the people that I'm doing some benefit for are the Muslims who listened. They picked up something that they hadn't thought about before and are grateful for the opportunity.